The Pacific War between the United States and Japan was one of the most brutal and decisive theaters of World War II. From the shocking attack on Pearl Harbor to the bloody battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa, these clashes determined the fate of the Pacific and ultimately the outcome of the global conflict. Each battle came at a staggering human cost, testing courage, endurance, and strategy on both sides. Here are 10 key battles between the US and Japan that shaped the course of the war. 1. Attack on Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941. At dawn, waves of Japanese aircraft descended on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Battleships, cruisers, and airfields were struck with bombs and torpedoes in a surprise attack designed to cripple America's Pacific Fleet. In just 2 hours, 8 battleships were damaged or sunk, hundreds of aircraft destroyed, and thousands of lives lost. But instead of forcing the U.S. into submission, the attack awakened American resolve, drawing the nation fully into World War II. U.S. casualties: about 2,403 killed, 1,178 wounded Japanese casualties, about 64 killed, 5 submarines lost. Second Battle of Coral Sea, May 4th to 8th, 1942. Fought entirely by aircraft launched from carriers, the Battle of the Coral Sea was the first naval engagement where opposing ships never saw each other. Japan aimed to capture Port Moresby in New Guinea, but US and Australian forces intercepted them. Though both sides lost a carrier, the Japanese advance was stopped. Strategically, it was the first check on Japan's expansion in the Pacific. US casualties: about 656 killed, 1 carrier and 1 destroyer sunk Japanese casualties, about 966 killed, 1 light carrier and several smaller ships sunk. Third Battle of Midway, June 4th to 7th, 1942. Only a month after Coral Sea, the tide of war turned at Midway. Thanks to code breaking, the U.S. Navy ambushed Japan's fleet. In a matter of hours, American dive bombers destroyed 4 Japanese aircraft carriers, the heart of Japan's naval power. Midway was a crushing blow from which Japan never recovered, giving the U.S. the momentum in the Pacific. U.S. casualties: about 307 killed, 1 carrier and 1 destroyer sunk Japanese casualties, about 3,057 killed, 4 carriers and a heavy cruiser sunk. Fourth Battle of Guadalcanal, August 1942, February 1943. The first major U.S. offensive in the Pacific took place on Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands. Marines stormed ashore to capture an airfield, sparking months of savage jungle fighting, naval clashes, and air battles. Both sides endured starvation, disease, and exhaustion. After 6 months, Japan withdrew, marking the first major Allied victory on land against Japan. U.S. casualties: about 7,100 killed, 29,000 wounded or sick Japanese casualties, about 19,000 to 25,000 killed, most from starvation and disease. Five, Battle of the Philippine Sea, June 19th to 20th, 1944. As the U.S. invaded the Marianas, Japan launched its last major carrier battle. What followed was the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot, where American pilots, flying superior planes and backed by radar, destroyed over 300 Japanese aircraft in a single day. Japan also lost 3 carriers. The battle ended Japanese carrier aviation as an effective force. U.S. casualties: about 123 killed, 123 aircraft lost Japanese casualties, about 3,000 killed, 3 carriers sunk, over 600 aircraft destroyed. Sixth Battle of Leyte Gulf, October 23rd to 26th, 1944. The largest naval battle in history unfolded during the U.S. liberation of the Philippines. 4 separate engagements stretched across the seas as Japan committed its remaining fleet. American forces with overwhelming power sank battleships, carriers, and cruisers. Japan introduced kamikaze attacks for the first time, but they could not turn the tide. The battle destroyed Japan's ability to fight a large-scale naval war. U.S. casualties: about 3,000 killed, several ships sunk or damaged. Japanese casualties: about 10,000 killed, 26 major warships sunk, including 4 carriers. Seven, Battle of Iwo Jima, February 19th to March 26th, 1945. On a tiny volcanic island only 750 miles from Japan, U.S. Marines faced one of the most ferocious defenses of the war. Japanese forces dug deep tunnels and bunkers, determined to fight to the last man. The battle raged for over a month in brutal close combat. The iconic raising of the U.S. flag on Mount Suribachi became a symbol of sacrifice and determination. U.S. casualties: about 6,821 killed, 19,200 wounded. Japanese casualties: about 18,000 to 21,000 killed, only 216 taken prisoner. 8. Battle of Okinawa, April 1st to June 22nd, 1945. The last major battle of the Pacific War was also the bloodiest. U.S. troops landed on Okinawa, facing fierce Japanese resistance in waves of kamikaze attacks. The fighting lasted nearly 3 months, devastating both armies and the civilian population. Okinawa's fall opened the door to Japan itself, but the horrific casualties influenced the U.S. decision to use atomic bombs rather than invade the home islands. U.S. casualties: about 12,500 killed, 49,000 wounded. Japanese casualties: about 77,000 soldiers killed, over 100,000 civilians dead. 9. Battle of Wake Island, December 8th to 23rd, 1941. Shortly after Pearl Harbor, Japan attacked Wake Island, defended by a small U.S. Marine garrison. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the defenders held off repeated assaults, even sinking Japanese ships and planes. After 2 weeks of relentless bombardment and infantry attacks, Wake fell. The gallant defense became a symbol of American courage in the dark early days of the war. U.S. casualties: about 120 killed, 1,600 captured. Japanese casualties: about 700 to 900 killed, 2 destroyers sunk. 10. Battle of Saipan, June 15th to July 9th, 1944. The U.S. assault on Saipan in the Mariana Islands was critical. Capturing it placed American B-29 bombers within range of Japan's home islands. The fighting was brutal, with Japanese soldiers launching desperate banzai charges and thousands of civilians tragically committing suicide rather than surrender. Saipan's loss shook Japan's leadership, leading to the resignation of Prime Minister Tojo. U.S. casualties: about 3,426 killed, 10,400 wounded. Japanese casualties: about 29,000 killed, 22,000 civilians dead. From Pearl Harbor to Okinawa, the battles between the United States and Japan defined the Pacific War. Japan's early triumphs gave way to devastating defeats as American industrial power, strategy, and determination turned the tide. Each clash carried immense human cost, with soldiers and civilians paying the ultimate price. In the end, these battles not only brought about Japan's surrender, but also reshaped the modern world, leaving lessons about sacrifice, resilience, and the terrible price of war.